Hi everyone, this is Paulo from Dnb Academy, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to create a roller bass in the style of Counterstrike. And in case you don't know the reference, this is from the track Let It Roll from Counterstrike. So this is what we're going to do today, so let's get started. So here I am with an initialized patch, and before we get started I gotta explain you how this sound works. So basically we want to use one operator as a sub oscillator and then run that through distortion. So in this case, we're going to use A, bring the ratio to 0.5 so we have it one octave lower. And we're going to run that through operator X, which is a distortion module. So that way we have that kind of distorted sub. And then we're going to stack one more layer, but this one is going to be heavily modulated by all the other operators. And with that, we're going to create lots of movement. So let's get started. Let me just reset all these modulations. And now let's focus on F. So here we have operator A, which is the sub, 100% routed into the distortion, and then it's going 100% out in the master. And F is going 44% or points into X, which is the distortion module, and 100% out in the master. So we get something like this. Now let's bring F to the same octave as A by putting the ratio on 0.5. So right now we have a cool sub. And then we're going to use E to modulate F. Don't worry about the percentages. What I want you to learn is the actual concept. I don't want you guys to turn your brain off and just follow instructions. I want you to think on the process of creating these types of sounds. So we're modulating F with E. And now with E, we can bring the ratio up to add more harmonics. Now we can use an envelope to add movement into this modulation. So let's sync this envelope to the tempo. And now let me just have a fight with this envelope because it's really hard to shape this once. So you should have a movement that sounds like this. And now let's load another wave here, like a second formant. And if you can notice, we kind of have a different sound every time, and that is because we haven't synced our waveforms. So let's do that right now. There you go. Now let's add more modulation into this patch with D. And we're going to do the same with operator D. We're going to change the wave, play with the ratio, and then once again, introduce movement using the envelopes. So you should have a movement like this. You can always try and invert the waveforms to see how they change your sound. Now let's keep stacking modulations. Let's use C. And once again, let's change how C sounds like. Change the waveform, sync it, and play with the ratio. Let's introduce more modulation with B. And let's even try to modulate B with C. That adds some extra harmonics. And now let's change how B sounds like. Once again, let's use the same wave. Play with the ratio. And now let's introduce another movement with this. So once again, sync the envelope and create a movement. So now we have this movement. And once again, I don't want you guys to worry about the percentages of all of these modulations. I want you to focus on the overall concept, which is mixing a distorted sub with a heavy modulated layer. You can experiment with all of these percentages later. So now let's jump into the effects. Let's add some distortion. Some simple EQing. Just to shape the sound in the lows and highs. Now let's add some reverb. Now, don't worry about this affecting the sub, because in a track like this, you will usually want to have a separate sub. We're just adding this reverb to add a bit of noise on the tops. Now we need to go into the pitch section to turn on the portamento, and also go into the master and set it on mono so we can have that pitch movement. Keep in mind you gotta make it really, really fast. So that's it inside of FM8. Now let's jump into some post-processing. So the first thing is a chorus. Doesn't change a lot. Then some saturation. And this really drives that sub. Then some OTT. To add a bit of brightness into the sound. And then I added the parallel processing that you saw in previous videos, which is leaving a dry layer. And then creating a stereo layer with some chorus. And this plugin wider. And then a high layer, which is only noise. And then some gain automation, which is the sidechain. And that's it for this patch. So let's play the final result. You can add even more drive. I'll play with the chorus. And as I said, you can go back into the patch and change the modulations, depending on how you want your sound. So that is going to be it for this tutorial. I hope you learned something. Make sure you click subscribe and hit the notification bell to not miss any of our future videos. Follow us on Instagram because we post there pretty much daily. Let me know in the comments what would you like to see next. We have a lot of requests and we're working on them. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye. Listo. Hey.